Let's do some English to metric conversions. We oftentimes don't do these in the lab. We're using SI units, and the conversions are actually mostly among the different prefixes in the System International. But this gives us good practice in using the factor label method, and gives us also some understanding about the relative sizes of SI to English units. It's important that you memorize the SI prefixes. For my class, I don't care that you memorize English to metric conversions. Left an I out of the metric there. And I'll give those to you in my class. Let's convert inches to kilometers. Now you can go look up single step conversions, but I'm going to always go through a single fundamental SI to metric conversion. I've written some of those across the top. We've got kilometers, kilometers, and we want to get, that's where we want to wind up. We're starting out with inches. But I don't know a conversion factor directly between inches and kilometers. So I'm going to take inches, change it to centimeters, because that's the conversion factor that I have available to me. Then I can convert centimeters to meters, and then meters finally to the desired unit of kilometers. So it's going to be a three-step process. We've got the measured quantity 47.98 inches. We've got our metric to English conversion, that 1 inch is the same as 2.54 centimeters. That way inches cancels. Now we can convert centimeters to meters, and we can do that because we memorized what the prefix centi means. It means 10 to the minus 2. So that goes with the meter term. Now centimeters cancels. Now we can wind up with our final desired unit of kilometers. It'll be in the numerator. Meters in the denominator. Kilos an SI prefix that means 1,000. So now meters divided by meters cancels. We will wind up with units of kilometers or kilometers. Get out the handy dandy calculator. 47.98 times 2.54 times 10 to the 1 times 10 to the minus 2 divided by 1,000, and that will give me 1.2187 times 10 to the minus 3 kilometers. But this is a measured quantity, so we can only have as many sig figs in our answer as we had in the original problem. We had 4 significant figures. My answer can only go to 4 significant figures, so 1.218 is where as far as I can go. That 7 will round that 8 up to a 9, so the correct answer is 1.219 times 10 to the minus 3 kilometers. Got the right sig figs, got the right units, and kilometers are a really big quantity, like 2/3 of a mile. I've got a yard and a half, a yard and a foot or so. If I take those almost 48 inches, and so that's going to be trying to make kilometers out of that. It all wind up a very small number, and that's what we have with this exponent of 10 to the minus 3. My answer makes numerical sense, the right sig figs, and the right units. Now let's do this conversion involving pounds to milligrams. And technically pounds is a unit of weight, but we're going to consider it as mass for this instance. And the conversion factor I have is between pounds and grams. I don't have a pounds to milligrams. So once again, this is going to be a multi-step problem. That I'm going to go from pounds to grams, then grams to milligrams. So 4.1 pounds. A pound is the same as 453.6 grams. Then I can go from grams to milligrams. Milli is the SI prefix that means 10 to the minus 3. So that goes with the other unit. It goes with grams. Pounds divided by pounds cancels. Grams divided by grams cancels. That gives me milligrams. So 4 times 453.6 divided by 1 times 10 to the negative 3. And that would give me 1.8144 times 10 to the 6 milligrams on my calculator. But I've got to have the correct number of significant figures. My problem only had 2 sig figs. My answer can only have 2 sig figs. So going around, my answer would be 1.8 times 10 to the 6 milligrams. I've got my desired unit of milligrams. I've got 2 sig figs. That's what I started out with. And milligrams are a very, very small quantity number. And so I'm going to need lots of them to equal a pound. And so I've got 1.8 times 10 to the 6 milligrams, large number. The milligram to 10 to the minus 3 grams was an exact conversion factor. It's a definition. The 453.6 is not exact. It has 4 sig figs. And so it winds up not limiting my answer because my answer only started out with 2 sig figs. If I had my answer had 5 sig figs in it, then this conversion factor would have limited what my final answer would be in terms of significant figures. The next one is involving volume, converting 16 ounces to liters. And we will wind up using this conversion factor up above. I don't have a direct one between ounces and liters, so I'm going to go to ounces to liters, then liters to milliliters. So 16 ounces and I have a conversion factor up here that 1 ounce is the same as 29.57 milliliters. That's not exact, and I tried to denote the exact by putting an asterisk by the conversion if it was up in my data table up above. And so that's 29.57 milliliters. And now I can change milliliters to liters by putting liters in the numerator, milliliters in the denominator. Milli is an SI prefix that means 10 to the minus 3. 10 to the minus 3. So now we can do our calculation. 16 times 29.57 times 1 times 10 to the negative third, and that will give me 0.47312 as the answer on my calculator. Ounces divided by ounces, milliliters divided by milliliters gives me a unit of liters, and that's what we were after. But we want the right number of sig figs. Our measured quantity only had 2 sig figs. The 29.57 milliliters to 1 ounce, that has 4 sig figs. And this 10 to the minus 3 liters to milliliters, that's the definition. So it's got an unlimited or infinite number of sig figs. So my answer this time can only have 2 sig figs. So I'm going to report my answer as 0.47 liters. One last problem. Let's do 85 kilometers to miles. And you can, some data table, you can certainly Google it, find out how many kilometers there are in a mile, or vice versa. But I'm going to go through a laborious, or seemingly laborious, calculation just to drive home how to use the factor label method, dimensional analysis, how we cancel out units, and how you can set it up to go through intermediate steps. My main conversion from English to metric is 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So I've got kilometers, and I need to get it to centimeters. I don't know a conversion factor directly between kilometers and centimeters, so I'm going to go to an intermediate unit of meters, then to centimeters, which gives me my bridge over to the English system of inches. So how many inches are in a mile? Don't know. So I'm going to convert that to feet, because I know there are 12 inches in a foot, and then I'm going to convert to miles. So it's going to wind up being a 5-step process. We start out with our 85 kilometers. In our conversion factor, we want kilometers in the denominator so that they will cancel. Kilos and SI prefix, that means 1,000, or 10 to the third. So kilometers divided by kilometers. Now I've got meters that I'm going to take to centimeters using my little road map from up above. Centi is an SI prefix that means 10 to the minus 2. So that goes with the meters. Meters cancels. I've got centimeters. And now I can use my bridge between metric or SI and English. Centimeters to inches. And an inch has been defined to be 2.54 centimeters. Exactly. For that matter, these previous conversion factors, they've also been exact numbers because they're definitions. So now centimeters cancels. Now I can convert from inches to feet because there are 12 inches in a foot. So inch divided by inch cancels. I've got feet. Now we can go from feet to miles. It turns out there are 5,200, and 8, no they're not. There are 5,280 feet in a mile. And so I made a mistake, but because I'm writing everything out, and that's one of the keys in all these problems is to write out all your units. I can't emphasize that enough. Write out all your units and all your conversion factors. And that way you can see if something doesn't cancel out or you've got something upside down. So feet divided by feet gives me miles. Calculator time. 85 times 1 times 10 to the third divided by 1 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 2.54 divided by 12 divided by 5,280, and that would give me 52.817 miles. All of these conversion factors in this problem are definitions. That means they're exact. That means they do not affect the final answer in terms of the number of sig figs. I start out with 2 sig figs. I can only wind up with 2 sig figs. So 52.817 is going to wind up being 53 miles. I've got the correct unit, miles. I've got the correct number of significant figures, 2. And the answer sort of makes sense. Kilometer is sort of on the order of a mile. Actually, it's about 2/3 of a mile. And so 85 and 53, 53 is roughly 2/3 of what 85 is. So my answer is certainly plus or minus a ballpark. So those are some examples involving English to metric conversions.